compliance with the Open Public Meetings Law, I wish to state that on October 25th, 2024, the notice of this meeting of the Upper Township Committee was posted on the official Township Bulletin Board and the Upper Township website, emailed to the Atlantic City Press, the Ocean City Sentinel-Ledger, the Herald Times, and filed with the Township Clerk. Tonight's meeting is being video recorded up until the closed session portion of this meeting and will be available on the Upper Township website. I hereby direct that this announcement be made part of the minutes of this meeting. Would you please rise for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Corson?
Present.
Mrs. Hayes? Here. Mr. Knappen?
Present.
Mr. Pankos is absent. Mayor Newman?
Here. Your pleasure on the minutes.
I move we approve the regular and closed session minutes from October 15th, 2024.
Second.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mrs. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Knappen?
Yes.
Mayor Newman?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, instead of, we're going to even alter the regular agenda even further we're going to skip right to the presentation from the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. They are online and ready to go. However, the first thing we're going to do is we are going to, I'm going to give you a brief timeline of meaning the Township Committee's involvement, and then Administrator DeMarzo is going to have a statement for us before we get started, and then we'll, if you can just, you can be able to direct your attention to the screens that we have. It might be a little bit difficult on the Zoom, and I know we have to make sure that we have these microphones close to us when we're speaking up here. One of the things we have done, and this is a little off topic, is we are planning improvements to our sound system in here, and in fact not appropriated the money but bonded the money so far. On September 9th, we were notified by Cape County Health that 8 wells on Bay Air tested positive for high levels of mercury. Letters were being sent to property owners. September 11th, Cape County Health notified DEP the situation, requested they take over an investigation. September 12th, Cape County hand-delivered advisory letters to residents of Homestead, Lake Corson, Redwish, and Diane Avenue. On September 25th, 4 more positives on Bay Air. On September 27th, the county notified Township that DEP was taking over the investigation and gave DEP contact emails to contact us. On November 30th, the Township requested a PR plan from Cape County. On October 2nd, conference call was had with Cape County Health Department, and right after that conference call as well was the first message to give out the information that we had, and Gary will touch on that a little bit. October 4th, the Township requested a DEP to attend our October 15th meeting and request a conference call prior to the meeting. I have to go back just a little bit on, once we were notified, both meetings in September, I announced from this dais right here that we had an issue, and we didn't know the extent of it, but we did it both meetings in September, right from the get-go, if everybody remembers that. In fact, I think Joanne put the email up in front of me. Township requested on October 4th DEP the October 15th meeting, and requested a conference call prior to the meeting. October 7th, Cape County Health sent well test results for Homestead, which is next to Bay Air, all negative. October 8th, DEP responded no to attending our committee meeting on the 15th. On October 9th, the DEP notified the Township they will be testing wells on Diane and Redwish on not till November 13th, and resampling wells on Bay Air on October 17th. On October 10th, the Zoom meeting was held with the DEP, the Cape May County Health Department, the New Jersey Department of Health, and the Township. On the same day, the county notified Bay Air residents that if they wanted to relocate, that they would assist on that. On the 10th, the county also notified the Township there was 3 more positives on Bay Air. On the 14th, the second mayor's message came out. On the 18th, the DEP notified township moving up testing for certain properties on Lake Corson, Allendale, and Redwish. On October 18th, township notified DEP of a private test on Laurel Drive and Beasley's Place for mercury that tested positive. On October 19th, Administrator DeMarzo hand-delivered DEP letters to residents on Lake Corson, Allendale, and Redwish. The 20th, the third mayor's message was posted. On the 21st, the township notified DEP of a private test on Point Pleasant that had tested positive. And on the 21st as well, we notified the township testing well. The DEP notified the township that they were testing wells on Staples Court, Beasley's Place, Keats Avenue, and Laurel Drive on October 23rd. On the 22nd, Administrator DeMarzo hand-delivered DEP letters to residents on Staples Court, Beasley's Point, Keats Avenue, and Laurel Drive. On the 22nd, also the DEP notified the township on possible false positives. On the 24th, we had a Teams meeting with the DEP. On the 25th, the fourth mayor's message and code red call went out. And I'll just read from the mayor's message that came out on the 25th. It was part of the code red call. The following statement was issued by the DEP Friday, October 25th at 3:30 p.m. DEP conducted potable well sampling on October 17th at homes on Bay Air Road. The samples were analyzed with the New Jersey Department of Health's laboratory, and preliminary results show levels of mercury ranging from non-detect to 0.066 parts per billion. Yes, that too. They didn't say that. They didn't say that. Below the standard of 2 parts per billion. Residents have received the results of the sampling from the DEP today via email. These results are considered preliminary because they have not undergone quality assurance or quality control checks yet. These checks will be completed within 3 weeks, and the final results will be shared at that time. DEP will continue to sample wells to ensure the quality of drinking water. I want to turn it over to our administrator, thank you, and he has, once again, a brief statement.
Thank you, Mayor. The management of this particular incident was a mass catastrophe incident. It involved 8 agencies, dozens of people, dozens of personalities. The public must be proud of this board. The public must remember that the township, its employees as a whole, must rely on facts, not hearsay, rumors, and fragments of information. Contrary to claims made on social media by the uninformed parties, the township has remained consistent in its response and release of verifiable information. The township must remain loyal to the privacy of the affected parties, the legalities of releasing information, and the integrity of the DEP and the county in their investigation into this matter. The mayor provided a timeline as to the township's notification and actions. The township was the front line to the public, the advocate for our residents, and we support the lead agency, which is the DEP. Each of the board members took countless calls from the most distressed people, the most frightened individuals, and each of the board members assisted, comforted, and only could release information that they knew, and that was factual. I am proud, and so should the township, be of these elected officials, leading through strength, compassion, and a relentless drive for answers. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, Ryan, are we set to go with the DEP online? If we want to go ahead and have the members that are on the DEP call, they could probably introduce themselves, if they could.
louder this afternoon.
Stand by.
Oh.
Can you hear? Can everyone hear?
There we go.
Well, thank you very much. Again, thank you to the mayor, to all of your colleagues, sir, on the dais and those behind the scenes who have labored to make sure that your residents are protected, that their drinking water is safe, and that you're receiving good information. And I understand that the information has been conflicting, and I'm hoping that what we share with you all today will help demystify some of that and alleviate some confusion, and hopefully help to set some fears to rest. I'm Sean Latourette. I have the pleasure of serving every resident of our state as Commissioner of Environmental Protection, and I'm joined here today by several colleagues. And in a moment, I'm going to turn it over to one of those colleagues, Director of Remediation Management, Gwen Zervis. But I'd like to open up with just a few comments before Gwen's presentation, and I may share some information that may be a bit alarming to you all. So, as the mayor explained, initial sampling results on Bay Air showed high levels of mercury, dangerously high levels of mercury, very unusual for us to identify, and at odds with decades of private well testing act data collected in the township and in this vicinity. And when the disparity, and then later, after those initial sampling results, the DEP launched its sampling program. And as you heard, the DEP sampling results came back showing non-detect levels at many residences, including those that had previously shown high levels of mercury. And when that disparity between the initial samples and the DEP samples came to light, the DEP immediately launched an investigation. The DEP's initial findings have revealed that some of the initial samples of the Bay Area were adulterated. By that, I mean that someone with access to the initial samples is believed to have knowingly tampered with those samples. That tampering incident resulted in the high mercury readings. And to be clear, our investigation is ongoing. We will provide more information to you all as soon as we have and verify it. But as you'll hear shortly from DEP Director of Remediation Management, Gwen Zervis, DEP is working to ensure confirmatory sampling of any residential well affected by this tampering incident, so that affected residents can have confidence in the status and safety of their potable drinking well water. To be clear, the actions that led us here are shameful, deeply, deeply shameful. To knowingly and purposefully tamper with samples of people's drinking water, frightening this community, prompting the government to waste finite resources reserved to help people affected by pollution. It is downright inexcusable, and those involved in this shameful incident will be held accountable for their actions. You have my word on that.
Is everyone able to see that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So as Commissioner Watchford mentioned, I'm Gwen Zervis. I'm the Director of the Division of Remediation Management. What I'm going to go over today is the sampling results from Bayer Road and Homestead Road and the next steps for those areas, and also the next steps for the other areas of Upper Township. I think you all know this, but just in case, this is the area of Bayer Road. Up here is Beasley's Place, and down here is Laurel Drive, where we have some results in those areas also. The mayor went over most of this, but I will quickly go over it again. In August and September of 2024, the Cape May County Department of Health informed DEP that results from 14 private wells on Bayer Road exceeded the mercury standard of 2 parts per billion, or ppb, which is the same as micrograms per liter. Sampling and analysis were conducted by a local laboratory, and the laboratory reported results on Bayer Road ranging from non-detect, there were a few homes that had no detections of mercury, up to 14,000 parts per billion. The results on Homestead Road were all below the standard of 2. At that time, based on those results, the homeowners were told, those with results exceeding the standard were told not to use their water for drinking or cooking, and they were provided information about filing a spill fund claim. And the spill fund will reimburse residents for bottled water they purchased and for the installation of a treatment system for their well. On October 9th, the Department DEP was informed by the Federal Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Control, or Disease Registry rather. They informed the Department of Health, who then informed DEP, that water with mercury at concentrations over 1,000 parts per billion should not be used for any purpose, so that would include washing, shower, washing clothing. And based on that information, DEP offered residents the option to temporarily relocate at no cost to the resident. As I mentioned, the local laboratory results from wells on Bayer Road range from non-detect to 14,000 parts per billion mercury. So to confirm those results, the DEP went out and sampled 12 wells on Bayer on October 17th. DEP staff collected the samples, and the samples were analyzed by the New Jersey Department of Health laboratory. Those preliminary results were received last week, and they ranged from non-detect, no detections of mercury, to 0.066 parts per billion. All results did not exceed the standard of 2 parts per billion. DEP notified the residents of the results on Friday, October 20th. Here is a table showing the differences in results from the initial sample that was taken by the local laboratory compared to DEP's results. As you can see, there were 5 non-detects, no detections of mercury. The range then was from 0.033 parts per billion with a high of 0.066 parts per billion. So what are our next steps at this point? DEP is currently conducting a quality assurance quality control validation of data that was collected on October 17th. And as was mentioned, it will take 2 to 3 weeks to complete that validation. Also, DEP's contractor and DEP staff conducted additional confirmatory sampling on October 22nd and October 23rd. We are awaiting those results, and they will be shared with residents when we receive them, which should be within 7 days. DEP will conduct quality assurance quality control validation of all data, and the final results will be shared when this review is completed. DEP is committed to providing 2 rounds of data confirming mercury levels for residents on Bayer Road. Residents who temporarily relocated, the relocation costs will be covered until DEP is confident that the mercury levels are acceptable. For residents who do not relocate, DEP will continue to pay for bottled water until DEP is confident that the mercury levels are acceptable. note that a few wells on Bay Air Road had results for PFOA and PFOS that exceeded standards from the initial sampling lab conducted by the local laboratory. These results need to be confirmed, and if they are confirmed, then Spill Fund will pay for the installation of treatment systems to address these contaminants, and will also pay for bottled water until treatment is in place. Additional next steps for Homestead Road, which is connected to Bay Air. The local laboratory results, the samples that were taken back in August and September, show no detections of mercury on Homestead Road. But DEP is going to confirm those results. Our DEP staff or our contractors will be conducting sampling on Homestead Road in the vicinity of Homestead Road. Some sampling has already occurred on Lake Corson Road, which is near Bay Air, and we will be conducting confirmatory samples of the wells on Homestead Road in November. As I mentioned earlier, there were two other areas of Upper Township, the areas of Beasley's Place and Laurel Drive. Residents in the township, based on the possibly hearing of the results on Bay Air, hired the local laboratory who conducted the original sampling on Bay Air and paid for that local laboratory to collect samples from the wells near Beasley's Place and Laurel Drive. They also showed high levels of mercury. As a result, DEP staff will collect samples from those wells, and the wells that reportedly exceed the mercury standard will be sampled twice, just like we will be doing for the wells on Bay Air. Here are DEP contacts for questions. Certainly going to take your questions now if you have any, but for future reference, if you come up with a question that you would want to ask, questions about sampling results, you can go to Nania Bryan. There's her contact information, and questions about the Spill Fund, there's the email and the phone number. Any questions? I'll stop sharing.
Okay, before we start with questions, and Commissioner and Gwen, I would like to ask a question first, if I could. I'll start it. The question is, obviously I'm like flabbergasted at this and shocked at this information that it's a prosecutable offense, and you felt that it was a crime or whatever. Did the crime take place at the source? Did they put it in the well, or did it after the draw? That's the question.
Appreciate that, Darren. I share your shock about this tampering incident. I've never seen anything like it in my career, and nor have my colleagues here at DEP. It is beyond the pale, to say the least. The information that we have from our investigation to date, which is ongoing, indicates that the samples were adulterated after they were taken from the well. We have no reason to believe that the wells themselves.
That to me would be much. Not that it's any good at all, but that'd be a little bit a better outcome for all of us. I do have.
And that is consistent, Mayor Allard, with the results that we have since obtained, and that have been analyzed by the state laboratory.
The other question, and it's going to go into the financial thing a little bit, and I'm sure you guys can answer questions. Hopefully he answers some of the same questions you have. Number one, there's some people that have actually on their own gone out, and I'm asking this kind of for Vic. I know his parents have a house on Bay Air, and he went out and spent the money to put the POET system in that would take care of the mercury. Will those costs be reimbursed?
Where a cost has been incurred that a spill fund can in fact legally reimburse, it will do so. forever chemicals, which are very diffuse throughout our environment, unfortunately. These are the chemicals that were used to make Teflon pans and such, where we have the presence of contaminants that would otherwise be eligible for spill fund reimbursement. The spill fund will cover.
Okay, one final one from me, if you don't mind, and that is there has been some extended, I don't say stranded or extruded costs in some way, shape, or form. In other words, relocated residents. There's some cost involved transporting kids to school by the school district because they were relocated several miles away. Is that something, a cost that can be recovered as well?
Those are not costs that can be reimbursed by the spill fund, but I think what you're getting in there is that this incident, it has more costs on many folks. The state and its time and its resources, undoubtedly, the township and its time and its resources. And as we refer this matter for criminal enforcement, we will ask that this be taken into account.
Should we have an accounting?
Yeah, we'll have an accounting, all that stuff, I'm sure. We will make that happen, Mr. DeMarzo. And I'm going to, if you guys will indulge us for just, excuse me, I don't say you guys, if everyone would just indulge us for a second, and I'll ask my colleagues if they could, if they have any specific questions for them as well before we open it up to the public. You will get your opportunity. Kim?
So I'm rarely at a loss for words, but this information is new to all of us, just as it is to you. So I appreciate your presence here today, all of you, and also for sharing that information with us and being as forthright as you could. So I don't have any questions at the moment.
Kurt?
I just truly hope that these people will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, because what they've done to our people in our township and our community is criminal. These people, we have approximately 82 people here tonight, who were living scared to death, day to day, with the unknown, and the fear factor was just horrible. I'm multi-generation in this township, and I have children and grandchildren, and they were scared, and we live in Seaville. But when it's very frightening, and what these people did, they need to be held accountable. And I would like to thank the DEP and the health department for everybody did their job, and it came together. And it's very frustrating because it doesn't happen in a timely fashion that everybody wants to happen. These tests take 2 weeks, and it was agonizing for everyone. And thank you very much.
Thanks, Curtis.
You're welcome. You have our word that we will continue to do our job, and we do not take kindly to acts such as this.
No.
And we will hold folks accountable.
Vic? Go ahead.
Thank you so much, everybody, for coming out tonight and being part of this. As everybody said, and just echo some of the sentiments of my colleagues, shock and awe is certainly something we're all dealing with right now. At this time, I don't have any direct questions, but I do thank you guys so much for looking into this for our residents and giving them some peace of mind.
Okay, we're going to open it up to the public, and what I'd like you to do is, raise your hand or get in line at the podium there, and just state your name so we can be on a friendly basis here, and just, everybody is, at their wits' end. I can't. If I had any hair, I'd pull it out. Kurt would cut his off, so he couldn't do it. But we'd ask that you step to the podium and be respectful of not only our guests, but of other residents here as well, and other that want to talk, and keep it to, as obviously you want to get your questions answered, but keep it to a minimum. And with that, and try not to be too redundant. I don't want to hold your voice back, but now's your opportunity, and I certainly would appreciate it. And once you step to the podium, you might be a little shy, but speak into the mic like I am. Thank you. Anybody want to go ahead and line up? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Brittany McCreesh, and this is my 7-month-old Casey. I'm also here with my husband, my 2.5-year-old.
You're gonna do me a favor. Just you gotta almost kiss that microphone. The new system, when we're trying to record. But
Yep.
You'll just be better off.
Can you hear me now?
I can.
All right, much better. So again, my name is Brittany. I live on Homestead. This is my son Casey. I'm here with my 2.5-year-old also, who's very interested in this 6 ABC microphone here. I have 2 questions. The first is there any thought of extending the mains for city water?
Okay, I'll start with that to just correct you briefly. The township does not own the water system. That's New Jersey American, and they own the pipe in the ground and the water in that ground, and they're in the business to sell it. But I'll turn that over to so we do not have the funds, nor we don't have an MUA, we don't have a water company, we don't have any of that. I'll turn that back over to DEP to answer that. The question was, Commissioner, if you didn't hear, is there any plans to have the water pipe extended?
So the DEP doesn't determine whether a public water system, in this case, the New Jersey American water system that serves Ocean City, and as I understand it, a small area in Upper as well. The DEP doesn't have any particular role with respect to the extension of that water system. Our role is limited to ensuring that where pollution is identified as affecting someone's private well, that we provide support from the spill fund where there is a known contaminant issue. As Gwen noted earlier, there are some wells that have PFAS forever chemicals, and treatment will be provided where that is confirmed, but we don't have the ability to order, for example, a public water system, in this instance a privately owned one, to be extended in any particular direction.
Another
Thank you.
question?
Yeah, and my second question is wells that are in close proximity to those that have failed for PFAS. Do you plan to take any proactive measures like installing POET systems and more frequent water tests?
So I think one of the things that is important to understand about private wells in the state of New Jersey, about 15% of the state still gets its water from private potable wells, and the DEP doesn't have regulatory power over those wells that are privately owned. The DEP has regulatory power over water systems that en masse serve water to people in order to protect them. But where a private homeowner has a well, the DEP can't order testing or require testing, but where testing is done under the Private Well Testing Act, which only requires you as a homeowner to test your well when you may be selling your home so that the new owner has information about the state of that well. That is the way that we get water test results, because all Private Well Testing Act data gets reported to the DEP. And when we notice in that data exceedances of standards, we take action. And that is one way that we routinely provide assistance. The other way is when a homeowner decides to sample their well, which any homeowner can do anytime they wish, and should do, in my opinion, at least once a year. The DEP will provide support when there are contaminants that are compensable under the spill fund. But it's important that any testing that a homeowner does be done by a certified laboratory. The home tests that one might buy from a Lowe's or a Home Depot, those tests are not accurate enough. And so my advice to you all that may have a private well is to sample your well at least once a year and use a certified laboratory. If you find something that is, if you find a pollutant above a standard, we may be able to help you, but we don't
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Janet Young-Hans. I'm just a concerned resident of Upper Township, and I have a few questions. First, I want to thank our local government as well as the DEP for everything you've done to make everyone feel a bit better about this situation. My first question is, what the very first test that came back positive, why was this test ordered? Was it because of a house sale, or why did the owner order the test?
The honest answer to that is we don't know. When a private well, when a house may be sold and the test is taken under the Private Well Testing Act, that is usually indicated and it ends up in a state database. But that may not be the case for the first well that was tested. But these results are reported to the county, and as you heard the mayor indicate, the county, in the first instance, the county health department gets these reports, and sometimes it's the case that in places around the state, homeowners have a suspicion or a concern, and they test their wells, and then they tell their neighbors, and their neighbor tests their wells, and maybe folks start finding something and they report it to us. But it's usually a bit further down the line, because we're not the first to know of these things. Only when a cluster emerges do we begin to get information. So the short answer is I don't know what motivated that very first sample.
Okay, and then that leads to my second question. So you mentioned a certified testing company, and then you also mentioned that these results came out of a local testing company. Would you be able to share the name of that company, or tell us at what local level it is? Is it privately owned? Is it government owned? How does that work?
So laboratories that test water samples must be certified by the state to do the analyses that are required. And like any professional, my background is as a lawyer, and I have a law license. So to do laboratories have laboratory licenses, and they have to act in accordance with certain standards. That is why the test from Home Depot or Lowe's that you sort of do it yourself, that can give you some initial information that you as a consumer might want, but they're not certified by the state. They will follow the same rigorous standards. And there is a list of certified laboratories that can be provided to you. We can provide you links to where to find that information. In this instance, the earliest test results were sent through a certified local laboratory. And I certainly don't want to impugn that local laboratory. And so I don't want to make you a suggestion about where is best to go. A certified laboratory is always the best place to go. We've never seen something like this before. We want folks to be able to have confidence in those who are licensed.
My final question is, all the results that came back positive, was it all from the same lab, or are we talking multiple labs?
The results that came back, you saw the numbers that Director Hirvis shared. What I would call screening high levels of mercury. Those initial samples with those very high levels that we believe to have been tampered with, those samples, they were all from the same laboratory. But that laboratory also conducted testing that we don't believe to have been tampered with.
In that area?
With certain samples to have been that were tampered with.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Jenny Shanker, and I'm also a concerned citizen. I have a question about expenses. It seems like there are some expenses that the DEP can cover through its spill fund or through other means. I have been canvassing in that area. I know that people have done things like gotten filtration systems that might be expensive that maybe they didn't need. I'm wondering how residents can get an understanding of what the DEP can help them with, and if there are other government agencies that can help them, or other places where they could be helped with other unnecessary expenses that they've incurred.
A few moments ago, first of all, thank you for your question. A few moments ago, when service shared contact information for the DEP spill fund, the spill fund can provide assistance for verifying when contaminants are verified in someone's well. And the spill fund is providing assistance here. There is a concern that some of that assistance was based on improper results, like the need for moving folks temporarily out of their homes as being covered by the spill fund. And as Gwen mentioned, we will continue to do that until the results are verified multiple times over. And so we will continue to do that, and where we find verified instances of contaminants like the PFAS forever chemicals, we can provide assistance there as well.
So there isn't any specific list of the types of things. I understand what you're saying, but there's a range of things I think that people had to resort to. And I'm wondering maybe other people up here might have some answers around this as well. If people have incurred expenses that the DEP doesn't cover, is it just on them at that point?
I don't know if it covers or not. What the commissioner is saying is there's an email. Put that email together, put those expenses together, and submit them. And the spill fund and the agents that look at those submissions will make a determination relative to what it is.
And if the DEP can't cover things, are there other sources that you're aware of?
Step at a time, right? Little steps. So let's submit what they got. Let's take a look at what it is and what they're submitting, and then let the system work through the process.
I understand. Thank you very much.
And part of the legal
That
process,
is a good suggestion. Thank you.
part of the legal process might it be, the guilty party might be restitution for some of this.
Anyone else?
I think that is further down the line from where we are. We're still at our investigation stage, and innocence is presumed in these United States, and so the legal system will have to move through the matter as it does.
Okay.
Hi, Craig Shank with the Upper Township Sentinel newspaper. Commissioner LaTourette, is it your contention that the well that was tested in June was also adulterated? That was the one that started everything on this Bay Air Road?
I may not be as close to that detail as you are. But if that result is on the list when shared, then yes, we believe it to have been adulterated.
So
we can follow up with you on individual sample results if the press has specific questions it would like to pose. Our public information officer, one of them, Karen Shinsky, is on the line and listening in. And that's Karen with a C, C-A-R-Y-N, Shinsky, S-H-I-N-S-K-E, and you can find her at DEP and submit any of your press questions to her, and we'll get you answers in a timely fashion.
Okay, thank you very much.
Is there anybody else that has a question for the DEP?
Jessica Gurgel, 16 Bay Air Road. As one of the affected homes, Is it your understanding that we could trust the other results from Cape Environmental? I'm not bound by law, so. And what would you say to the other residents that, out of fear, spent the money to get these tests from Cape Environmental, and would you recommend that they get retested?
I didn't hear the last part of your question, and I'm sorry. Do I recommend?
Well, do you trust the other results that came out? I mean, was the mercury the only thing that was adulterated, and should we trust the other results that came out of the lab?
At this time, our understanding is that samples were adulterated to reflect high levels of mercury. And they were tampered with for that purpose. But that is a result of an initial beginning of our investigation, and I'm sure that I'm making the hairs on the backs of the necks of my lawyers stand up in even saying that much. But I believe you deserve information, as we have it. At this time, that's what we understand to be the case. But as Gwen mentioned, in the homes that, at the residences that were affected by the tampering, confirmatory sampling is being provided, has, in many of the instances, already been conducted. So our goal is to ensure that the residents who are affected by this incident can have faith in a confirmatory sample that we take.
Okay. And then the second part of my question, and I apologize if I was quiet, because we recommended to family members to get their water tested. And for those that had water tests from Cape Environmental that did not show high mercury, would you believe that those tests were accurate?
If you have a sampling result that has been affected in this incident, I think the confirmatory sample is going to provide a measure of comfort. We don't at this moment, I think more to the point of your question, have reason to believe that other samples were adulterated or skewed in the opposite direction, if that's what your question is pretending. Does that answer help you more?
Yes, thank you.
Hi, Trisha Grotto, concerned citizen as well. Thank you to the local government and to the DEP for being here. I just want to start with my alarm that came up, as many of us have been under concern with when Cape Environmental called me to cancel their appointment on Friday. They said it was because the DEP told them not to test anymore. So, and that was cause for alarm. So at first there was a lot of lack of trust in what's true and what's not, so it helps to be here today. And I know that doesn't really ask a question, but I have to speak this concern to somewhere, because now it's like, okay, feeling somewhat settled in these answers, but you're in an initial investigation. So I'm curious as to the timeline of when you can find concrete answers, as well as how that will be communicated to us. Is it going to be through our local government, and how will that be? Will it be on the website? Is there a letter? And seeking more information and more concrete answers, what is that going to look like?
That's a great question, and I appreciate that. I think what would be appropriate after our confirmatory sampling and what Director Zervis explained as the quality assurance, quality control verification that occurs. After all of that is complete, we can provide a narrative, a summary of what we have found throughout the course of this experience, so that folks are well informed, and that there is a point of explanation beyond the one I'm offering you in this moment.
And there is not an idea of a timeline with that? Not by a certain month or something more concrete?
Well, I think Gwen outlined is that our confirmatory sampling will continue through in November, and it takes several weeks to be doubly sure through our verification process. So I think that puts us toward the end of November.
Do you need, for those of us getting private testing, would it help to have information and which companies have tested wells in the area too? Do you require
So could you just repeat that for me? I'm sorry, I didn't catch all of that.
So I had a company come out today, once it was canceled on Friday from Cape Environmental, and I called a different company who were willing to come out. It did cost a lot more money. But they came out today, and when my results come, would you like that information to be shared as well? Would that be helpful?
If residents in the community are willing to share their results that they may independently take with us, we gladly accept those and examine them as well.
Would that be the spill fund information contacts?
Gwen provided an email address for a community contact.
Okay.
Ms. Bryan, so I will utilize that contact.
Okay, thank you.
And what we'll do at the end is we'll get that information and put it on our website and put it out to you so you guys have it as well. Thank you. Anybody else?
Hello, my name is Trish Hartman. I'm a reporter with Channel 6 Action News. Can you tell us the status of this local laboratory that did these samples that are believed to be tampering with? As the previous person stated, her appointment was canceled because they were told not to do any more sampling. Are they shut down? Are they still allowed to do any testing? And also, is this company cooperating with the investigation?
Here I want to be careful and mindful of the hairs on the backs of the necks of those lawyers, because this is an ongoing investigation. The local laboratory is cooperating, and as I said before, I don't want to impugn any person or any company as we work through the investigation and the steps that will follow. And so I'll have to respectfully decline to go into more detail than that, given the ongoing investigation, but the company is very much cooperating.
Given the scope of what the DEP believes happened here, what are the potential punishments when ultimately this investigation is concluded?
Again, I hesitate to jump down that road because it very much depends on what we find throughout the course of that investigation, which will be investigated both as a civil and regulatory matter, and will be referred for criminal investigation, or has been, let me correct myself, has been referred for criminal investigation as well. And I can't judge what those outcomes might be at this time.
When you say it's been referred for criminal investigation, is that with the Attorney General's office?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, Pam.
Did any other homes come up with the PFOAs and whatever that else is?
That's the commissioners. I have no idea.
Can you ask that question again? I'm sorry, I didn't catch it up.
Were there a number of homes that are showing positive for that PFOS, PFOA, whatever it's called?
Gwen did share in her presentation that some properties did show PFAS, forever chemicals, above our regulatory standard, and we should be careful not to disclose, a resident's personal information. So I probably can't tell you more than that.
Is there more than one home is all I wanted to know. My husband has a lot of handicaps. He lives in a jacuzzi, so if there's anything in the water, my test was also canceled from that company, and I just, my daughter was saying that a lot of these things can cause what my husband has, so I want to make sure that this has been years.
If your well has not been sampled yet, having that done by a certified laboratory is good practice. And so we would suggest that, and again, we can provide links to the certified laboratories.
All right, thank you.
Okay. I don't see anybody else jumping up, so what I'd like to, I'm sorry. Oh, Paul, good to see you. Good to see you, brother.
Hi, it's Paul Main, Petersburg. The PowerPoint was great, ma'am. Are you going to be making that public?
Yes, I can.
Okay, terrific.
I'll send it to the township.
And then I guess this is a question for you, Gary. So for people that have already paid for Cape Environmental Laboratories, like should they give you their information and keep their receipts and send them
I
to
believe
you?
on that PowerPoint presentation, there was a link relative to the spill fund process. You can always copy me.
Okay.
I'll advocate for you, make sure it gets into the right hands and ears, and push it up to the DEP and let them make the determination through the process.
All right, roger that. Thank you.
Okay, I want to thank everyone for being here for this. Don't leave just yet. I definitely want to thank the Commissioner for appearing, and your answers were forthright as best as you can. I certainly appreciate that. Gwen, I also appreciate the phone call. Couldn't get to you quick enough, Commissioner, but and Gwen, we appreciate all your assistance over the past month and getting that information out. And if possible, we'd like to get some of those PowerPoint slides down to us, and we'll put them up on our website so that people can refer back to them with that information, since you did make it public. And we'll try to keep everybody updated as best we can on the course of the investigation, because obviously it's very near and dear to our hearts now. I certainly appreciate it. Once again, what I'm going to do is we're going to take about a 10-minute adjournment. Those of you who would like to stay, you're more than welcome, but I guarantee you the rest of the meeting is not going to be as interesting as this. So that'll give us a chance to regroup. Once again, thank you very much. Thank you, Commissioner.